know. You already know, bro. Like, if you truly from the rich, and if you're black, and if you have a certain age, your granddaddy, your grandma, your mama then probably told you a little bit what I'm about to tell you in regards to Parchester Village in Richmond. Shout out to the rich. Because, as some context, in my prior video, I was talking about black neighborhoods in the Bay Area that were made specifically for homes to be sold to blacks. Case in point, Country Club Crest. My brother here commented and was like, hey, bro, let's talk about Parchester Village. That is a great example, and that is a great story that needs to be told. So for those of y'all who've never been to Richmond, there is a neighborhood close to the northern region of the city somewhat called Parchester Village. I am well aware that there are some people who consider Parchester Village North Richmond. I choose to consider them separate because when I was first introduced to Parchester Village, they just told me that Parchester Village was funking with North Richmond on some street shit, so I'm going to keep y'all two neighborhoods separate, as Parchester Village is not North Richmond. Ironically, bringing up North Richmond, prior to the existence of Parchester Village, North Richmond was actually one of the first neighborhoods, if not the first, to allow blacks to stay there. In the 1930s, I'm going somewhere with this, there was at best maybe 200 to 250 black people living in Richmond. Richmond used to be a predominantly white city, mixed with some other races too as well. And they were all staying in North Richmond for the most part. The first time you started seeing thousands and thousands of blacks arrive in Richmond was, you guessed it, World War II. We at war with Japan, we at war with Germany. A lot of shit needs to be built. They opened up a lot of shipyards, a lot of industry plants all around the goddamn country, particularly on the coast. Kaiser shipyards had just opened up in Richmond, and they needed some workers. They needed some workers to make all this shit. They needed some workers to make all these carrier ships, all these bombs. They need somebody to make all this. So this is when you start seeing the waves of blacks move from down south. It always goes back to down south. Moving from Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, whoop to come work out here. Well, where they gonna stay? They can't buy no houses nowhere because you got to remember this back in the day. It's still kind of racist. Okay, cool. So this is when we start having wartime housing. This is when we start having that temporary wartime housing complex is built up. For those who do not know, when you go to Richmond, when you go to Vallejo, when you go to SF, there was a lot of wartime temporary housing built for these workers to come in, bring their families to work and make some money. Because we at war, bro. You know, fuck if we don't like black people. We need y'all to come here and make all this shit because we at war. Well, the war ends. We kicked Germany's ass, we kicked Japan's ass, and that sounds messed up because I got love for Japanese culture and German culture, but we went, right? So rather than allow the housing to stay, the overwhelming majority of these housing projects or wartime housing that they built, they decided to tore down, which left a lot of blacks homeless and with nowhere to go besides going back down south because you got to remember back in the day, particularly in California, they was not trying to allow blacks to move nowhere besides North Richmond. There was a reverend, named Reverend Guthrie John Williams in the city of Richmond. Him, together with a lot of other pastors, a few other pastors, were in contact with a city councilman named Amos Henley, and I might be pronouncing his name incorrectly, who was up to run again. And they made a deal with him and said, hey, we're going to try to get as much of our community to support you and vote for you as possible. In return, I want you to please link us up with somebody or a developer who is open to building homes, who's open to providing housing for black people. So he stood by his promise. Now, did Amos get elected for city council again? No, he did not get reelected. But he still did link them up with a man named Fred Parr. Fred Parr happened to be a real estate developer who had a lot of land in that northern western region where Parchester Village was soon to be built. I'm going somewhere with this. So in the conversations with them, talked to the reverends, shit was cool. Linked up with them, linked up with another man named Tim something. It was named Flat Roof Tim, I forgot his name. It's the guy he's known for his flat roof style of building homes. But this led to the building of Parchester Village. Parchester Village, Parchester comes from his name, Fred Parr. The streets that you have in that neighborhood, like Williams and Wooty Whoop, are actual names of the pastors that participated in the campaigning for this neighborhood to be built. That is a neighborhood that fascinates me because it has went through a lot. In the 1950s, I was reading about how back in the day, they actually had to politically campaign and sue the city, sue the city of Richmond for allowing their kids to actually attend Richmond public school system. They actually had to sue for that shit. They had to press for them to get street lights. They went through a lot. I know Parchester Village is going through a lot right now, you know. like any neighborhood right now, honestly, in Richmond right now. But that history needs to be told. That history does need to be told. There was a decline in the city in the 1980s, 1990s. I have my own personal theory what caused that, but I don't want to offend any fucking body. I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm going to say it in part 2 of this video.